Dearest New Zealand, after the horrific terrorist attack in Christchurch, it is with a heavy and yet hopeful heart that I extend this invitation to everyone. Please join me in making a daily commitment from here forward to contribute to calling out hatred and intolerance and fostering more compassion and kindness within New Zealand. This is, of course, in addition to the beautiful and unquestionably sincere displays of support and solidarity we have already shown. Messages, flowers, donations, mosque visits, haka, swift changes to New Zealand gun laws, and absolutely phenomenal leadership. Public condemnation of the terrorist attack at Al Noor and Linwood mosques is absolutely necessary, and I am proud to see our Prime Minister and the public quickly and vehemently reject what has happened. But for some of us to do this and then also say this is not New Zealand is to miss a massive opportunity for us to reflect on ourselves both personally and as a nation as to how we can improve and how we can actively nurture and cultivate an environment where Friday the 15th could never have been possible. In many ways, the terrorist attack absolutely wasn't New Zealand. Most of us would never dream of killing people, aren't overly big on guns, and take pride in the fact that New Zealand police don't carry firearms on their person at all times. In 2017, we had 48 homicides, so to have 50 people, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, children, friends, workmates, and classmates slaughtered in one day from a terrorist attack is obviously not an everyday occurrence here. I understand when people say this is not New Zealand, they are saying this is not what they stand for, and that sentiment is a beautiful thing. But let us face the ugly truth. Though the contrast between a terrorist attack and casual intolerance might seem stark, they are both rungs on the same ladder. Genocide and terrorist attacks are the ultimate examples of hatred, but all of these start with smaller seeds, and these seeds very much are a part of New Zealand. We do not receive a get-out-of-jail-free card because the shooter was born in Australia. We do not receive a get-out-of-jail-free card because New Zealand often features on best places in the world to live lists. Just because New Zealand is not as bad as some other countries doesn't mean there isn't room for significant improvement. Though our intentions are supportive, when we say this is not New Zealand, we are ignoring that just last month 2 skinheads tried to rip off the hijabs of 3 women in central Dunedin. We are ignoring that also last month journalist Aziz Al-Sa'afin was attacked during Pride Week on K Road for being gay. We are ignoring that in 2003 Korean tourist Kim Jae-hyun was killed and decapitated in a hate crime murder. We are ignoring winger Sake Aka from Fiji having racist comments thrown at him by students during a 2015 rugby match in Christchurch, to the point that he was so upset that he could no longer play. When we say this is not New Zealand, we are ignoring the bloodshed involved in the very foundations of this colonial country. When we say this is not New Zealand, we are minimising one of my high school friends being spat at for speaking Indonesian on her phone. We are minimising a friend's partner being called a and seeking disciplinary action to no avail. We are minimising a friend from Malawi being told, no offence, but you guys are taking all our jobs and it's not right. We are minimising a friend from Brazil with a fair complexion having to continually defend immigrants of colour when told, you're the type of immigrant we want here. We are also minimising a former flatmate being told by a boy at primary school that she could never like him because she looked like an Afghan due to the colour of her skin. When we say this is not New Zealand, we are negating my New Zealand-born Samoan father being told a prospective apartment was already taken, and my Pākehā mother inquiring 30 minutes later and being offered the very same apartment. We are negating my 6-year-old heart pounding while I stared at the white laces of a pack of skinheads walking past my playground, and felt as though my features and my complexion were a neon sign saying target here. We are negating my 16-year-old heart sinking when being asked for a bag check as I went to pay for an item at a department store, when multiple Pākehā students in front of me, many with bags larger than mine, left the store unchecked. When we say this is not New Zealand, we are negating the impact on my sense of belonging in my own country by being asked repeatedly over the course of a lifetime, "What are you?" and "Yeah, nah, but you know, where are you from?" This is not a shaming exercise. We have all been guilty of ignorance and intolerance at certain points. We all have blind spots. I, for one, am not proud to admit that I have said some atrocious things about the Christian faith that I was raised in. And as a New Zealander of mixed heritage, I have made some grotty statements about both sides of my ancestry in trying to navigate the predicament of not truly fitting into either of them completely. New Zealand, please join me in weeding out the blind spots we may have, instead of failing to explore the possibility that maybe they do in fact exist. As well as saying we don't stand for Islamophobia, we don't stand for racism, we don't stand for intolerance, we stand for compassion. Let's take a deep breath and ask, how have I or we been Islamophobic? How have I or we been racist? How have I or we been intolerant? How have I or we not been compassionate? Yes, New Zealand represents diversity, kindness, and compassion, but we also have regular instances of intolerance, impatience, and judgment. Yes, we are a nation of more than 200 ethnicities and 160 languages, but how embraced and how welcomed are the various ethnicities and languages in New Zealand? How many times have we all heard people being told to go home or speak English? It is time to check in. Are we kind? Are we welcoming? Are we good role models to children when we talk about communities, faiths, and nationalities in front of them? Do we let our youth know that they belong and are significant? Are we patient with those who aren't fluent in English? Do we listen to perspectives other than our own? And if we do call people out on things, are we constructive about it? Or do we perpetuate hatred, insults, and blanket statements with our responses? Are we inclusive? How well do we honour the official language statuses of Te Reo Māori and New Zealand Sign Language? Are we aware that there are a variety of experiences within New Zealand? Do we acknowledge our tangata whenua beyond the haka at a rugby match? And if Kiwi means New Zealander, are we making sure that we extend that term to all New Zealanders, or is Kiwi only reserved for those of us with Anglo-Saxon features? These are only a handful of the many questions I am asking myself at this time. Being born and raised and living most of my life in Christchurch, I can absolutely attest to the fact that as well as the tremendous love and kindness clearly evident in the wake of the earthquakes and the terrorist attack, there are also undeniably ingrained currents of racism and intolerance throughout the city, including but not limited to xenophobia, Islamophobia, homophobia, and transphobia. I have directly contributed to this culture of a tolerance for intolerance the times that I didn't speak up, feeling as though I couldn't make a difference, discouraged by dismissive or abusive reactions from all the other times I had called things out, going home and having a disheartened grizzle to friends and family at the end of the day about the ignorant or heard in town, instead of calling out that behaviour on the spot. Particularly as a younger girl, and as a person who has always had a somewhat timid temperament, I have often been fearful of rustling feathers, of being targeted myself for speaking up, or of being the brown PC gone mad girl with a chip on her shoulder making mountains out of molehills. To this day, as a woman, I still often struggle with the competing needs of wanting to feel safe and lay low, and also wanting to align with my values by speaking up when I see or hear things that I believe are crossing a line. Sometimes I speak up, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm articulate, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes my voice is strong, other times it wavers. It is not a perfect journey, but it is a journey that I have become increasingly committed to. One thing is for certain though, in the words of Howard Zinn, you can't be neutral on a moving train. As a nation, I know that many people can also admit there are times when they too have been neutral. As with so many of the worst examples of humanity, the Christchurch terrorist attack also brought out some of the best of humanity as well. We are all starting to hear of selfless and heroic acts of pure love and compassion. Haji, Daud Nabi's greeting of hello brother, and shielding others with his own body. Naim Rashid rushing the gunman with his bare hands to defend those around him. Husna Ahmed getting women and children to safety and being killed heading towards danger rather than away from it to check on her husband. Abdul Aziz using a credit card machine to protect his congregation. Dean's Ave resident Len Paneha helping 5 people scale a wall to take shelter in his apartment. And emergency services on all fronts rallying to respond with limited details to a horrendous situation, and in the process putting themselves in the path of physical danger and or psychological trauma. New Zealand. Let's hold these examples of compassion, love, and goodwill to others as guiding stars for us to aim towards on a daily basis. Let's make this commitment to continue far beyond when the flowers have been cleared from the footpaths, when the Facebook posts have lessened, when the media coverage has shifted to other events, and when we aren't necessarily surrounded by multitudes of other people who agree with us. At times it will be scary, at times it will be uncomfortable, but it will always be worthwhile. Let's no longer ride on the coattails of the efforts of the Springbok Tour protesters 37 years ago as proof that New Zealanders are kind and tolerant. Let's strive to continually create new examples of this and work towards breaking down our complacency with examples of the opposite, not only with love, but very importantly, with action. It is time for a new New Zealand. With love, Kay.